Shares of Nike did close lower today, a little more than 3%, after releasing that ad, one of them featuring former NFL player Colin Kaepernick as part of the 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. The ad features Kaepernick with the words, quote, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." Kaepernick has been unsigned since March 2017 after kneeling during the national anthem back in 2016 as a way to protest racial injustice. The protest prompted criticism from President Trump, has also led the NFL to reconsider its entire national anthem policy.
Nike recently extended its partnership with the NFL through 2028, and just moments ago, the NFL released a statement on social justice saying, quote, "The National Football League believes in dialogue, understanding, and unity. We embrace the role and responsibility of everyone involved with this game to promote meaningful, positive change in our communities. The social justice issues that Colin and other professional athletes have raised deserve our attention and action."
So nothing about Nike or really anything, and in any opinion one way or the other. I mean, there was a concern because Kaepernick has this lawsuit pending, accusing them of colluding to keep him off the field, this would be a bold move by Nike, which is such a close partner with the NFL.
No, well, I agree. No clear, they're not taking any sides on this, but clearly this statement was garnered, was driven by the whole Nike debate today. Let's discuss it further. Nike's stance on social issues and whether that can impact its future partnerships. Joining us, Sandy Rubinstein, CEO of DXagency, and Ralph Greene, a former Nike executive and CEO and founder of Columbia Consulting Group. A very good afternoon to you both. Sandy, I'll start with you.
Good afternoon.
From the perspective of branding and so on and so forth, what's your view? Smart move, or is the risk reward too weighted to the risk side?
It's a gamble. Ultimately, Nike is known for great storytelling, for compelling, passionate positioning of athletes and sharing their path to greatness with us. This particular one is not as down the middle for Nike, and this is a gamble for Nike with the consumer, with the brand, especially heading into football season. This may have not been the best choice.
Dean, do you agree? Is it worth the risk?
Ralph, you mean? You asking me?
Yeah, Ralph. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, sorry, no problem. Well, no, I disagree. I mean, I think that there is a risk with regard to the reaction and how folks are going to kind of take the message and what they may do with it. But as far as the brand stands and the history of Nike as a brand is more than just storytelling. Nike's brand stands for athlete dedication and purpose, and it really isn't so much about the specific issue. It's about Cap taking the risk and doing what he felt he needed to do. In my mind, the only decision really they had to make was, should they have done this last year? Because Cap hasn't played for a while, and it's athlete. Nike's an athlete company. He hasn't been on the field. But in terms of standing up for what you believe in, dead on brand strategy.
Ralph, you mentioned that. Should they have done this already? Should they have done it last year, given the original timing of this whole debate? If, and it is a big if, Nike has had Colin Kaepernick on the payroll throughout this time when he has been protesting, and sacrificing. Does that sour the whole protest that he's been on the payroll throughout the early period, as opposed to, say, just from today onwards?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by sour. If you mean, is it somehow disingenuous? I don't think so. I mean, I think as Cap was an athlete, an elite athlete, and he would have an arrangement with Nike or any other provider, that's pretty customary. I think what Nike had to decide was, the brand values of athletes' self-determination and standing up for what you believe in, was this a good dialogue to have? Clearly, it was going to come with a reaction, and I'm sure they knew that when they made the decision.
Sandy, you say that there is risk involved here. No doubt the risk was very much kind of calculated on some level by Nike, recognizing that this was going to be seized upon, even if he was one of several athletes that were in here. Right. So what do you think, practically speaking, on an ongoing basis, is the risk to the brand? Obviously, you have this sort of reflex backlash, but if the campaign is in tune with Nike's broader image going back many years, where do you think the hazard comes in?
I think it comes in when you use the specific ad copy that they used in this piece of creative. The other pieces of creative are brilliant. They're inspiring. When you talk about Serena Williams and her creative is, it's only a crazy dream until you don't do it. That's Nike. Just do it. When you talk about Odell Beckham Jr.'s ad creative, and that one states, don't wait till you've won a ring to play like it. That's inspiring. That's what Nike's known for. This particular one leaves it open to interpretation, and that's where I think is the most dangerous place to play, where consumers and millennials who you're targeting may interpret it as, you know what, I'm not going to think about the consequences. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, but they might take that a little bit too far, and that's the risk. On the other side of the table, Nike's gotten $43 million worth of free press in the last 24 hours. Pretty great marketing campaign from that standpoint. They haven't had to spend a dollar yet, and they haven't had to place an ad yet. But there is definitely a risk for long term, and especially as you head into the fourth quarter now with the holiday season, I think that's going to be the most telltale to see if it makes an impact on the financials for the company.
I mean, Ralph, it's a hard thing to think about from an advertising perspective. Like, don't you want a campaign or a message that is resonant and that is, you know, socially on point right now and makes a statement and takes a little bit of a risk and is daring while obviously not alienating some of your consumer base? It feels like a really hard task for companies to do right now. And I'm just trying to think of other examples of ones that have done it correctly if this one doesn't hit the mark.
Well, I mean, I think that a very good point. I mean, I think if you go back through Nike's history, I mean, I think it's not so much what's the difference between or among Colin Kaepernick and Odell Beckham and Serena. It's what's the commonality. And that's what Nike has tried to draw the red thread all the way through. If you go back to If You Let Me Play back in the 90s and going back through the Bow, and all the messages are aspirational. Some are controversial, some are not, but they're all about self-determination. And I would submit If You Let Me Play was just as polarizing back a few years ago with regard to women's participation in sports and support of Title IX. But you know, now things are just so much more acute, and you have a situation now where the reaction took less than 24 hours. But I think still the fundamentals are the same for Nike, trying to stay true to their brand.